Thank you so much, Vikas. I remember the time we had dinner in New York City. It wasn't exactly an Ayurvedic meal, but it was in great company, and it was very sweet memories indeed. And my my relationships maybe with Vaidya Mishra go back a long time to when I was still a graduate student and I was starting to have some chronic issues here and there. I was young, I was only 26, 27 years old, and doctors were not able to help me. They were mostly stress related, and I didn't know, but they were mostly also diet related. And I had just discovered Ayurveda. And when I met Vaidya Mishra, I was also working on my dissertation, and my PhD was in trying to figure out how you can take care of trauma that has been transmitted through generations. So it's really deep, heavy load. And I was working on that, looking for some avenues and answers. And then I met Vaidya Mishra. I was really fortunate. And just by changing my diet, he was able to get rid of all my chronic symptoms and conditions. And I was able to also be more on top of my stress. You can never eliminate stress, of course, and address a lot of things that I had that were resulting from my stress. So I knew at that point that Ayurveda was really, a big answer to that, was, a big part body of knowledge that's lacking in our modern lifestyles. And I just decided to um, join his team, and then things just grew up from there. And like Vikas, you mentioned, I cooked with him, I wrote with him, we researched together, we did courses together, and his knowledge was really incredible. It was really unlike anything else that's been taught. So let's get started with today's session, which was really hard for me to put together because I had to navigate an ocean of knowledge and select just a few gems here and there so that it could serve as a good introduction to spring detox, and also share some recipes with you. And I'm a big foodie, and I wanted to start with this slide so you know what's coming up. These are the recipes that I will be sharing at the end of the talk, actually, and they are all Ayurvedic recipes in terms of the preparation and the ingredient, and they cover or address Ayurvedic principles for detox and in general well-being as well. And they are unique recipes. Before that, though, however, I would like to just say a couple of words about Vaidya Mishra's lineage and how the school of Ayurveda that he has bequeathed us, all the knowledge, all the teachings, is very unique. There are a lot of different families, Brahmin families in India that carry the traditions forward orally from generation to generation. And Vaidya Mishra came from such a family of Brahmins called Magh Brahmins or Shakavansi Brahmins. And their history, their story is told in two of the Puranas, the Bhavishya Puran and the Skanda Puran. And it actually dates back to thousands of years ago, to when Lord Krishna's son Shambh was cursed with leprosy. And Lord Krishna was trying to find doctors to cure his son. And he was told that there were some Brahmins who lived in the island of Shaka who were sun worshippers, and sun worshippers were experts in clearing and helping with skin conditions. So he invited them, and they healed his son Shambh, and then he asked them to stay on in India. And they came over and they built sun temples. They came on top of the Garuda bird, and that's how the story goes. And they established residence in India and built sun temples. And that's from where Vaidya used to say his descendants came. So we have the names of 14 generations of his ancestors, as you can see on the page. So it's nice to have a story and a history and an ancestry, but this is not just the only special thing that Vaidya has, or Vaidya's family has. You're going to see in just a few minutes, as I start to talk about detox, that the knowledge of Ayurveda that he has brought to us stays always true to the texts, even as it introduces elements from within the text that take it to a whole new level. Vaidya Mishra, in anything that he taught, always introduced all these details, these refinements of the knowledge that just made things resonate, that made it more powerful. But more important than anything else, I think, is the fact that he was able to adapt the ancient knowledge without altering it to our modern lifestyle, to the conditions, the cultural conditions, to our modern diet, to all the stressors, that are making our bodies sick, without swaying or swerving from the original ancient teachings. And that's a skill that the Ayurvedic texts, make room for. They say that the true Vaidyas are able to do that without contradicting the original text. And Vaidya Mishra was one such Vaidya, and I hope you will see for yourself as I go on with the talk today. This is our Vaidya Mishra, and I just wanted you to have a darshan of him. So without further ado, and before I launch into the talk, just want you to know that this talk today, even if it touches on things that might be connected to medical conditions or symptoms, or, we may have a conversation about that, everything in this talk is just meant as an educational, it's educational knowledge for you to learn more about Ayurveda, the treasures of Ayurveda. And if you do have a medical condition, to please consult with your medical doctor, as we will not be giving you any medical advice for any ailments that you might have. So, one of the most beautiful things that Ayurveda teaches us is that we are the universe, and the universe is within us. And I think no one has said it more beautifully than poetess Maya Angelou, when she said, everything in the universe has a rhythm, everything dances, everything flows, and there's a tempo, there's rhyme, and there is reason for everything that happens and for the way that it happens. And when we maintain that rhythm, that universal cosmic rhythm, when we maintain it in our bodies, when we are in sync with it, then everything flows really nice and unhindered. It is when, for some reason or other, we go off, we become redundant, or we lag behind, that things can get a little tricky. So detox is one of those things that we're going to discover today, helps us get back to that original cosmic rhythm so that we can flow with everything that's around us. And Ayurveda talks about detox that can be done in many ways, or that is in fact done in many ways. Daily detox. I mean, we have to have a bowel movement at least once a day. When some people, clients used to come and see Vaidya Mishra, and I had the privilege of sitting in on the consultations that he offered, and they used to have a bowel movement maybe every other day, every 3 days, sometimes once a week, and they were led to believe that it was okay. And Ayurveda reminds us that it is not okay, that it is necessary to have at least one bowel movement a day, because it is a primary form of detox. And ideally to have two bowel movements a day, but just one is also a great thing. Then there's weekly detox that can be done just to help ease off any toxic or stress accumulation, on a weekly basis, given our lifestyles and our workloads. You can also go for the fortnightly or the monthly. But ideally, Ayurveda recommends that we at least stay true to doing detox at least twice a year at the junction between summer and fall, and also when winter turns into spring. The spring and autumn detoxes are very important detoxes because of specific Ayurvedic reasons, but they also help us ease into the next season. And this is when the universe, the laws of nature actually support our bodies to offload any toxins or any imbalances that we may have accumulated during the winter or the summer season. The good thing about Ayurveda, if you are not familiar with Ayurveda, is that it doesn't just talk in terms of health by referring to nutritional value of diet or taking into account stress. It talks about the balancing factor of life that goes from having the proper flow of prana, that goes from eating meals that are suited to the seasons, takes into consideration times of the day, and so on and so forth. So there's like very big picture that is presented to us that gets lost to us otherwise if we're looking at things from a modern perspective only. So springtime is the best, one of the best times of the year to have detox, and that is why I would like to give you a few guidelines and tips following Vaidya's lineage to help us along. So in general, detox may address climactic changes, for example, going from winter into spring, and the weather is warming up. People tend to get the sniffles, a cough. So you want to do detox so that you take care of those things. But detox can also be something that you might be interested in if you have low energy, you're looking to fix your digestion, you feel like you experience brain fog for no obvious reason, you have food cravings that you're trying to curb, you want to lose some weight, of course, which is a common thing, and maybe you have also skin issues. These are some things that you will find if you do even like a basic Google search. So many schools of thought are trying to address, because so many people have at least a few of the items on this list. So it's something that's very indicative of how we're living, what we're eating, what we're doing. And it's wonderful because with Ayurveda, we can address all of these things. However, there is a great number of protocols. There's a great number of detox, regimens, and unfortunately, Vaidya Mishra used to say, "I'm seeing more damage from detoxification than from the actual toxins." When clients used to come and see him, they used to come with him with real serious chronic conditions that had resulted after they did either a weekend panchakarma somewhere or they followed some detox protocol, whether it's drinking, lime juice with cayenne pepper first thing in the morning, so on and so forth. And it became very evident to him over time that he had to start putting together materials so that people could learn to minimize intake of toxicity, do daily, weekly detox, so that they would not go to these detox protocols, and they would also have more knowledge in terms of diet and lifestyle to be able to navigate daily detox so they can accumulate less toxins. So he put together the Shakavansi Ayurveda detox protocols, and he started to teach them. And the first thing that is obvious for us when we talk about the SVA detox is that it is not like any of the detox protocols that are out on the market. For example, it's not a flush. There's too many kidney flushes, liver flushes, or there's too many fads where you're taking one bitter herb, you're taking milk thistle for your liver, or you're doing flax seeds so you can have more frequent bowel movements, or the lemon water, or drinking shakes for breakfast. This the detox protocol that Vaidya Mishra puts together does not focus, and you're not going to get today any such protocol that you can adopt on top of everything else that you're doing, because you will see the way he explains detox based on the Ayurvedic understanding of the human body. The human body is such a big, complex system of intertwined organ systems working together on so many levels. You need a holistic detox protocol that will address all of these. But not just in that sense, but also because in Vaidya Mishra's lineage, in the SVA school of thought, we talk about more than one type of toxin. We talk about four kinds of toxins, and this is something that has been lost to in mainstream Ayurveda, but was kept alive in Vaidya Mishra's lineage and tradition. This is just knowing this, knowing that you can categorize four different types of toxins will already shift your entire understanding of how you eat and how you live. Just, sometimes a little bit of knowledge can open up totally new vistas, new horizons for you. And this teaching of the four types of toxins is at the heart of the Swa detox tradition. So generally, we'll do a little bit of Ayurveda here, Ayurveda training. The only kind of toxin that is spoken of in Ayurvedic schools and texts is ama. Whenever you go for panchakarma or you get a consultation, they are trying to evaluate and see how much ama you have. And ama is said to be heavy, cold, sticky, and most of the time it results from poor digestion. It makes you feel tired. It can give you body aches and a foggy mind. And this is the easiest kind of toxin to take care of and to address. But Vaidya also taught us that there's something called Amavisha. And Amavisha is something that can result if you have ama and you let it sit in your body. The easiest way to understand this is to look at it like this. If you cook every day in your kitchen, you have some trash, you have peels, you have some other trash that comes out, and then you need to throw it out on a daily basis. If you don't throw out your trash from cooking in the kitchen every day, you let it sit. After a couple of days, it's going to start to smell. It's turning acidic, it's decomposing. And in the same way, when you have some ama in your body, something that has not been properly digested and it doesn't get evacuated, then it turns hot and acidic and it gets cooked up and it becomes a more serious type of ama. This is amavisha. Then Vaidya Mishra explained that we have toxins from the environment. So the first two kinds of toxins are from within the body, but Garavisha is from outside the body. So any toxic fumes, synthetic fragrances, chemicals in your body wash or shampoo, chemicals on the clothes that you buy to wear, chemicals in the car, anywhere. These are called Garavisha. They're slow poisons that enter your body transdermally or through inhalation, and that can lodge themselves in different parts of your body. And we will see in a few minutes that they cause different kinds of symptoms. And finally, very appropriately for our age, where we have become overly dependent on electromagnetic devices, computers, cell phones, and Wi-Fi, Vaidya Mishra taught us that the Ayurvedic texts also address EMF and EMR. And it's a fascinating story as to how he was able to bring this knowledge to us, but he tells that he was in London in the 1990s taking the pulse, and he saw in the pulse of his clients some spikes that he had never seen in the pulse of patients when he was seeing them in India. His father was still alive at that point, and he called his father and he said, I'm seeing something in their pulse that I have never seen before. So his father said, why don't you see what it is that's in that culture that did not exist when you were back here in India? And Vaidya Mishra meditated on it, and he realized that it was electricity. He had grown up in a village where there was no electricity yet in those days. And the only difference was electricity. And doing further research, he was able to bring to us this knowledge that is in the Shastras about how electricity or electrical overload can create very specific symptoms that we can identify in the body. And they specifically derive from the devices that we use. So maybe somebody will say, well, there were no electrical devices back when the Shastras and Ayurvedic texts were written, and that's correct. But they identified this type of toxin as being one that results from lightning. When you get hit by lightning and your body carries an overload of electrical toxicity. So this is a fascinating, take on EMF and EMR, but totally in line with the Ayurvedic teachings. And Vaidya Mishra has developed protocols for how to address EMF toxicity, and he helped a lot of clients. I remember there was several clients, one of whom was working in a room where there were another 100 computers, and he had all these symptoms, and the doctors could never identify what was wrong with him. And Vaidya knew that he had Indra Vajra Vijanya Visha, that's how it's called. And he gave him the protocol for that, and he immediately improved. So this is not just, it's wonderful in theory, but it's also practically applicable. So let's move forward. So when we're doing detox, based on this knowledge of the 4 toxins, now you can imagine that the first thing that you want to be able to do is to identify what kind of toxin it is that you have a problem with, what kind of toxin it is that's giving you whichever health issue that you have. Because if you don't identify the right kind of toxin, each of these toxins have a different protocol for addressing them and fixing them. If you think that you have got a visha, but really you're suffering from ama, then it doesn't work. So first step is to identify what it is. Second step, then after identifying, you will know what to do. If you have ama, then maybe you're not eating the right foods, you're eating things that are too heavy for your physiology and you're making ama. Maybe you have too much mental and emotional stress. Or it's the chemicals. Maybe you have a really good diet and you're not feeling well, but you have too many chemicals in your home. You're thinking that you're keeping everything clean, but it's actually poisoning you. So that's the next step. And then once you do the detox, this is another shortcoming, I guess, that sometimes can also result in ill health, is when you do the detox, it's important to rejuvenate after the detox. Too many times, this is also not done properly because, again, the toxin was not identified properly, and then the method was not correct, and then the rejuvenation failed, and then people end up feeling worse after a detox. An important thing also is, now that we know that there's 4 kinds of toxins, each kind of toxin not only results from specific condition, but also enters the body from a different pathway or gateway. And knowing what the pathway is also important, because you're going to escort them out through the same pathway. The way they came in is the way that they will have to go out. So this is one of the reasons why, we say that the SVA detox is holistic, not because we take into consideration all these different kinds of toxins. It's not just toxin, toxin, toxin. It's like it can be cold toxin, hot toxin, it can be chemical toxin, or it can be electromagnetic toxin. But it's also because you need to know which pathways they're traveling on so that you can eliminate them via the same pathway. And you can guess now that, the protocol for each pathway is different, and it makes a big difference. The pathways, or marga is the Ayurvedic term, can be of two types, either physical or vibrational. Physical means literally that it's something palpable. You can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it. And vibrational is something that is it's called nadi, and it's abstract. So we do not see the telephone lines and all the Wi-Fi that it's in the air because our senses are limited, but we know they are there because when we pick up our phone, we can make a call and we can hear the other person. And in the same way, there are toxins like that. They're either visible, physical, and they travel the physical pathways, or they are invisible, but they are still very powerful and they travel invisible pathways. And again, there's different ways of addressing them. And so then the question is, if you're looking at yourself, how do you know which type of toxin you have and how do you detox it, right? This is the $1,000,000 question, because if you knew, then you could take care of yourself and fix everything. So today, this is an introduction to give you like a taste of Vaidya's knowledge, but given the time allotted, it's just not possible for us to be able to, share all of the knowledge with you. And that's one of the reasons why I and a team of wonderful women who studied with Vaidya Mishra and who were his patients as well for almost 20 years, since he was in the US, have been I've been coming together and bringing everybody a detox course where we do detox for 8 weeks together. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that later. So if you are interested in finding out more, if you want to be on top of your own health and learn what it is that's going on with you and how you can detox it, I invite you to, contact us, contact Vikas, and ask us more about it. And then we'll be happy to share with you more details. But for now, in the remaining time that I have today, I would like to share with you some basic steps that you can still do, regardless of whether if you have Amavisha, Garavisha, or Indravaja, Vijanya Simple things that you can do on a daily basis to keep things flowing inside your body. Because Vaidya Mishra's lineage, they're sun worshippers, as we said, and the sun is really the beginning of life and the end of life. If the sun were, God forbid, to not rise, if it were for some reason to disintegrate, we would freeze to death within probably 24 to 48 hours on planet Earth. The sun is that which gives us the flow of time, but it's also that which our bodies follow. Our bodies are in sync with the sun. Our digestive juices peak at noon when the sun peaks on top of us. So staying aligned with the sun is already like more than half of the job getting done in terms of improving our metabolism and staying happy and healthy. So one of the things that you can do, and I know it's the hardest thing, is going to bed early. Early means before 10 p.m. because there's different flavors to different portions of time in a day. And after 10 p.m., things shift. And this is a whole topic in and of itself that we could spend like a whole hour talking about. But just know that if you go to bed by 9:30, 9:45, Your body gets full rest. It detoxes itself through sleep. The liver gets detoxed between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. The brain gets detoxed in the early hours of the morning, and you wake up refreshed and ready to function again. And then when you go to bed early, rising up half an hour before sunrise, you'll be amazed at what a difference it can make for your mood and for your digestion as well. Everything will fall into place and you'll feel like you're on top. You're ahead of things instead of constantly trying to catch up, and you feel time is running away from you. Another very important thing is to never skip or delay meals. We tend to just sometimes get so busy, we lose our appetite, or we don't have time when we know that it's lunchtime. Or many of us skip breakfast because we either wake up too late, we don't feel hungry, or we feel like it's not a necessary meal of the day. But every meal of the day plays its role in keeping the whole machinery of the human body well oiled. And then we overuse, underuse, or misuse our senses. Too much being on the phone, too much doing of anything, even something good, ends up being an overuse of our senses. So balancing things. These are some basic tips, that you can try to be aware of on a daily basis to help you reset some kind of balance in your life. Some additional SVA recommendations that Vaidya used to also give is that breakfast really sets the tone for the rest of your day. So if you're eating heavy, cold things, for example, some people like to start with yogurt, then Ayurveda recommends to start with something light and warm. Don't start with cayenne pepper and lemon water because you don't want to jumpstart your digestion. And I will give you a recipe in a few minutes. You want to eat nourishing pranic meaning full of life, fresh meals frequently. Ayurveda does not recommend eating one meal a day or 2 meals a day, but rather keeping the metabolic fire going on by supplying little small meals and keeping everything well oiled. And never to skip or delay a meal because it really messes up the gastric juices. And it can end up making you feel like you're not hungry. And then a couple of hours later, you get too hungry and you can't stop eating, and everything becomes just a big mess. One of the things that we really overlook and we do a lot of these days is to engage in other activities while we're eating, either watching TV or having intense intellectual conversations. And this is very common sense. We don't need Ayurveda to tell us this because we know when we are eating, the hole in the body, the body gets the signal that there's the major activity going on in the stomach area, digestive organs, and all the blood is needed and it gets supplied to that area. So if you're trying to engage in something where you need to use your brain capacity, then you're creating a fight between your stomach and your brain, and your body is confused. It doesn't know which way, where to go because it needs to go to your stomach, but then you are also putting extra strain intellectually. And so neither your food gets properly digested, and whatever you're trying to do intellectually, you will not have full focus either. And this can create all kinds of chronic conditions down the line. And Vaidya helped many people just by changing this habit of theirs. Leftovers are a very big topic. Many of us tend to think that they are okay, especially if it's only overnight. But any food item on which the sun has set is not okay to eat. Even though we have refrigerators now, and the fridge may keep things relatively looking fresh, it's still not okay. And it's a big topic again that we can talk about for like an hour or more. But it's good to know that it's best to steer clear from leftovers. Another thing is when you get hungry and you have nothing to eat and you end up eating something that you regret later on. It's always good to be prepared and have a little snack with you, if it's some nuts or anything healthy that you like, and keep you from regretting your decisions. And of course, addictive foods like sugar, caffeine, vinegar, flavoring agents, to avoid or minimize as much as possible. These are, like, as you can see, also very common sense, but it's nice to get reminded. Um, Let me see, this is going. Oh, yeah. So a good way to start your day is with a stewed apple or pear. You want to not jumpstart your digestion. It's like you have fire that you had lit to cook some food on, but it was just during the 8 hours of sleep, wasn't fully put out, but it was just, very low. So you want to rekindle that fire and prep it so you can cook a big meal on it for lunchtime. And that's why you don't want to eat anything cold or heavy first thing in the morning for breakfast. And you don't want to eat anything too acidic either. It's like putting too much fuel on your fire. That can also put it out, even though you might think it doesn't. So, cayenne pepper and lemon is very acidic and hot. So Vaidya Mishra used to recommend starting your day with a stewed apple or pear and add in 2 or 3 cloves and eat it fresh and warm, and wake up your digestive Pachaka Agni. And then after half an hour or so, have some grains, oatmeal or quinoa. This is an ideal way of doing things. If you need more specific recommendations, then there are other alternatives, but this is like a good standard recommendation that Vaidya used to give us. And then for daily detox, also, there are some things that we should be avoiding. And this comes as a surprise to many people who get to know of Vaidya and his teachings, that these vegetables that are in almost every single cuisine of the world, whether it's European, Italian, American, Indian, Middle Eastern, uses all these vegetables and in abundance. These vegetables were introduced into the human diet only a few hundred years ago, and they actually carry chemicals in them that, believe it or not, are addictive. So once you start eating them, you want to keep eating them, and they act like slow poisons. They do a lot of harm in your physiology. These nightshades contain neurotoxins such as molecules of nicotine, atropine, solanine, scopolamine, and they are addictive. They travel in the body and spread quickly everywhere. They carry also the same prabhava that nicotine and opiates have, that are primarily made up of air and space. So they are addictive in that sense as well. And they're similar to cannabis and morphine, but in very small doses. So you don't really get high from eating tomatoes and potatoes, but you do actually, your body gets the same effect and it craves more. And long-term usage really disrupts our nadis and eventually our shrotas, the physical and the vibrational channels. So we want to minimize the use of these vegetables. A lot of times patients would say to Vaidya, but so if I don't eat any of these vegetables, what am I going to eat? You'd be surprised to see there's a lot of things you can eat. For example, instead of tomatoes, you can eat the Thai tamarind. You can make that into a sauce. Instead of potatoes, you can eat taro root. Instead of eggplant, if you like the bitter taste, I'm going to introduce you to the Karela plant, which is readily available in Asian grocery stores nowadays. So there are other things that you can do that are actually healthy for you. Then the sour stuff, we use too much synthetic or bad sour flavor in our diet nowadays. So vinegar, especially if it's synthetic, but even if it's natural apple cider vinegar, you don't want to do too much of it because it's very acidic and it can disrupt the balance between acidity and alkalinity in your body. You want to do lime instead of lemon because the post digestive effect of limes is alkaline. They tested, Vaidya had a patient who was a lab technician at UCLA, and she actually tested the ash of lime and the ash of lemon. They basically cook it up and they tested it, and she found that the lime is alkaline while lemon stays acidic all the way to the end. You don't want to make your body too acidic because that's the key factor for inviting inflammation. You want to replace coffee. We're all addicted on caffeine with either green or white tea or have an herbal water recipe. And another thing that we are also doing that can be really inflammatory for the body nowadays is flaxseed and flax flour. The Ayurvedic texts are very clear about this. Flax may be used in very minimal medicinal doses, but the way people are now adding flax, and flax is just added to everything, even if you get a muffin or, any other, food item nowadays, the bread and everything carries flaxseed because it's considered to be good for helping with bowel movement, but it's very heating for the liver and the spleen, and long-term use can really cause great inflammation. So you want to steer clear from that. You want to add some pungent to your diet because pungency helps sharpen the digestive flame, but you want to do it the right way, especially for those of us who can and do crave pungency. So you don't want to do red chilies, you want to do green chilies instead. And Vaidya explains that red chilies can be, he has a very exhaustive explanation as to how that works, but I'll skip it for today. But green chilies are great. The small Thai green chilies are great to have. Black pepper, fresh ground black pepper is already part of our culture. It's nice to use. Fresh grated ginger is always great, but you want to steer clear of onion and garlic, which is also another staple used every day in almost every meal that we eat. So onion and garlic, it's another topic, that deserves its own time slot, are great. They have a lot of medicinal properties, as research shows now, but that's exactly what it is. They are medicinal. And you wouldn't want to take medication if you were not sick on a daily basis. When you do that, your body creates resistance to the medicinal properties. That's number one. Number two is onion and garlics, Vijay explained, they contain sulfur, and the sulfur kills the friendly bacteria in your gut. And we know now that the health of our gut is actually what determines the health of the rest of our body, including of our brain. There's a lot of wonderful research that's coming out nowadays, and many books are being written about this. So you want to minimize the use of onion and garlic, and you will not crave it so much if you do add green chilies, ginger to your food. You will find that it'll be satisfying. Protein is very important, and it's important to have at least a good amount of protein with your lunch. If you cannot digest it for dinner, then that's okay. But most important is to avoid the large beans and to favor the little lentils, easier to digest. If you are not vegetarian, it's important to steer clear from the heavier meats such as beef, pork, and to stick with chicken and fish. Fresh paneer is a nice alternative and can be eaten with masalas and all kinds of recipes. Definitely to avoid soy and tofu. Not only is it heavy, but especially for women, they can cause a lot of hormonal imbalances. And soy milk or anything derived thereof is not recommended by Vaidya. Also, large bananas, they're full of nutrients but very heavy to digest. Winter squashes and processed food, leftovers, food with preservatives, canned food. These are a little more obvious recommendations. So now if you're feeling tired after eating a meal, what does that mean? It means you're making ama. Even if you think you're eating a good meal, it means whatever you're eating is actually not being fully processed. Your pachak agni is low. So you may feel like your joints get stiff, your body feels heavy, your thinking becomes dull, you feel lethargic, and sometimes also like you don't get appetite for your next meal or for the same meal while you're eating it, you feel sad for no reason. If that is the case, Vaidya Mishra used to give us a nice, quick little recipe that you can make at home and keep. It's made of fennel and ajwain seeds. Ajwain seeds are a wonderful Indian spice. They taste like oregano. They're very sharp. And so you would dry toast them on a dry skillet, no oil, or some people like to do it also in the toaster oven so it doesn't burn. You dry toast it until the color turns golden, and then just mix it together in the ratio of either 20% ajwain to 80% fennel, or 10% ajwain to 90% fennel if you feel like the ajwain is too sharp. And you can have this whenever you feel tired after a meal, you feel sluggish, you feel like you ate something and it's sitting too heavy on your stomach. This will help clear things. Um, Otherwise, if you're having heartburn or acidity, or if you tend to have skin rashes, it means that you probably have some amavisha, which is the acidic toxicity we were talking about. And Amavisha is trickier, it's harder to address. It depends on which tissues of the body it has been lodged in. And based on that, you will have different kinds of symptoms, even mood swings, feeling extremely emotional, going between feeling elated and feeling extremely sad, up and down, or feeling angry. So it can be, it can express itself in any way, basically. Sugar, salt, crunchy, juicy things, whenever you're craving things in an inordinate manner, it means that things are super off with either amavisha or with ama, because your body is not receiving what it needs. It's either not getting fully processed, so your brain is also not getting the message that your body is satiated, or because there's some tissue, there's, the acidic toxins, for example, are in your blood tissue and they're making it really hot. So you crave more sweet snacks because you want that soothing soma heaviness from the sugar to cool off your hot, acidic, toxic buildup. So it's tricky. There's no one remedy. You have to see why you are craving what you are craving. And that's usually something that you get to know when you get a discovery call with an educator, an Ayurvedic educator or consultant. When you're feeling off for no reason, let's say your diet is perfect, you even work out, you do yoga, but you're still feeling off, then it could be that you are exposing yourself to too many chemical, synthetic, toxic elements. And the primary thing about Garavisha, as the name indicates, is that these are slow toxins. So it's not going to happen overnight. It takes a long time. Maybe you've been washing your clothes in toxic detergent for several years, or you've been using a specific kind of toothpaste for a really long time, but then all of a sudden one day you start feeling not so good. So these things take a long time, and but once they do, once you start feeling off, once the symptoms kick in, you want to address them. And Vaidya has specific protocols for this, and he has a wonderful tea that he has made. It's called Garavisha tea, that by using herbs and plants has really helped a lot of people who were experiencing these symptoms. It's also another reason why he made also a lot of products, personal care products, from toothpaste and body wash and so many other things, that are free from Garavisha, anything synthetic that can cause toxicity. Finally, if you're still feeling ungrounded, tingling sensations or crawling skin sensations, emotional mental fatigue, sad for no reason, you can't sleep well, you have lack of energy no matter how much you rest, then it could be that you are experiencing toxicity from too much EMF exposure. And this is becoming a very serious issue nowadays, not just for adults, but for children as well, given that we have to use these electronic devices so much. And Vaidya used to say, what to do? This is, our culture, this is the age. So you can't stop using them, but it's nice to stop using them when you don't have to. If you use it for school or you use it for work, then you have to use it. But there are many things that you can do. One of the things that he would recommend, for example, is to wear raw silk, because raw silk is a bad conductor and it will shield from EMF frequencies. Another thing is he taught us how to do vibrational massage, and that's something that we also teach in our detox course. And then to follow a specific diet. So there are a lot of things. He empowered us with a lot of tools that we can adopt, and they're easy and they're really powerful. You will feel the difference. So now you understand that, we have different kinds of toxins. They enter our physiology in a different way. So when you are doing detox, you have to take all these things into consideration. You have to take into consideration the marga, how it's running through the body, and then what it's doing to the shrotas or the nadis, and the overall physiology. And only then can you say that detox is, complete and proper. Food uses the largest marga. We love food not because it tastes good, but because without food, there will never come a day when we will just have to take a pill to nourish ourselves, because our bodies, the tissues in our bodies, all the different metabolic fires, all the different organs and organ systems, and everything in our body needs the complexity of food, needs all the different layers and the information that it gets from food. And food uses the largest marga and is one of the most important things to consider when you are doing a detox. So if you do everything else, but you don't fix your food, it's not going to work. But if you fix your food and you don't do anything else, then it's fabulous. Food is soma. It's the nectar of immortality that the gods and the demons fight over again and again in all the Puranas and the Vedic texts that we see. And the teaching of Soma is very beautiful and very special in Vaidya's lineage as well. He teaches that food, of course, is Soma, but so is love. Getting a good hug brings Soma into the body. Good water, spring water, is also Soma. The moon is full of Soma. So all of these things are good, but food is the primary source of Soma for us. And when you eat proper, good somagenic food, you can become immortal. The relationship between the body and soma and the rest of the universe is a very big, very beautiful, very special topic that we also teach in many classes in Vaidya's school, as well as the detox course. This is just an image that shows you a little bit at a glance of how you connect the Aditattva, the primordial sound, which is the first manifestation of absolute creative power, and how it relates to the doshas in our body and all the elements that you see at the bottom of the page. And once you understand things in this perspective, the choices that you make will automatically flow, because you know how your body jives, you know how it's connected to the environment around it, and to the sun and to the moon as well. So finally, now we get to the main part of this talk, and I want to share with you these somagenic recipes that are also detox recipes, and you'll understand why. One of the things that these recipes all have is that the way this plate was assembled, the one that I showed you in the beginning, it carries all the six tastes. You want to make sure that you're eating all of the six tastes in every meal so that you're creating balance for body, mind, and heart. And this helps curb your cravings to a certain extent and also give you nourishment to on every level. This is the dish that we are going to learn how to make today. And we have all of the taste. The sweet taste comes from the Loki that you see. It also comes from the pineapple salad that's there. We have the sour taste also in the pineapple. We have some lime squeezed on top of the asparagus. The salty taste comes from the salt that's in the food. The bitter taste is represented by the karela. We have astringency coming from the masala that we have used, as well as the pine nuts are a little bit astringent. Pungent is if you have added any ginger or chilies, which we recommend, or some black pepper to any of these recipes as an optional ingredient. One of the things we do recommend also, if you cannot have meals that cover all these six tastes for mental, emotional, and physical balance, is to use spices. We are really spice deficient here in the West. We think spices are just used for flavoring, and they do carry a lot of flavor, but they are medicinal. And Ayurveda teaches us how to use spices correctly as daily medicine in every single one of our meals. One of the most beautiful recipes that Vaidya left us is the masala mix called Mom's Super Spice. And this is literally from his own mother. It's the masala that he grew up eating. It's the masala that she packaged and sent to him with him when he left for college and he was away from her and couldn't eat her food. And the special thing about this masala is, of course, it's tridoshic, but it's also pre-toasted, so you can sprinkle it on your food. You don't necessarily need to cook it in case you have to eat something on the go. You know, you pick up a salad on a hot summer day, you can sprinkle it on your salad, or you can sprinkle it on papaya, on fruit. I even like to put it on my dessert because it's really delicious. So this is something good to have. Spices are very important again for whatever meal you are making, whether breakfast, lunch, or a snack. If you do not have mom's masala, this is a masala that mix that Vaidya used to recommend, and it's good and safe for 99% of people. And it carries 1 part turmeric, cumin, 1 part cumin, 6 parts fennel, and 6 parts coriander seeds. With this masala, you will also get the bitter and the astringent taste, and the fennel will help with digestion, cumin will help with absorption, coriander will help with elimination and balancing all the other medicinal properties. You can make this masala mix. We call it 1166 because of the ratios. And 1 part means if you choose to use a teaspoon, that's your part. Then you do 1 teaspoon turmeric, 1 cumin, 1 and 6 teaspoons fennel, so on. Or if you choose the tablespoon, then that's your part. So that's how it works. When you are doing detox, it's very important, or at least to have at least once a week, if not once a day, something that's really bitter in your diet, because bitter is better. bitter the bitter taste is naturally detoxifying, just like the sweet taste is naturally nourishing, but it's heavy. Bitter is detoxifying. It contains more air and space that helps move toxins in the body. And karela is a vegetable that I mentioned earlier today that is very common in Indian households, and the Chinese, the Asian people also eat it. They have their own delicious recipes. But we do not have karela in the West. In fact, we do not have much of anything bitter. And my theory is that is why we crave so much coffee, in addition to our addiction to caffeine, of course, and chocolate, because those are the only two bitter things that, unless I'm wrong, but I don't think, I mean, I haven't noticed anything else that's bitter. So we crave that bitter taste. It's very important, not just for our physical, but for our mental and emotional health as well. So introducing the bitter taste into your daily diet is an important aspect of maintaining daily detox and also keeping yourself balanced. So if you cannot get Karela, if you don't live close to an Asian grocery store, or it's just something that's not familiar, this is an instant soup mix that Vaidya made specifically for that purpose that we carry on his website, chandiga.com. And it's super easy. Everything is in there. You just add water and you can just drink it with your meal. Otherwise, here is a very delicious recipe that has been tested on even youngsters who absolutely love it. You see, Karela is very bitter, nauseatingly bitter, and it's sometimes you just don't want to eat it, even though you know it's good for you. But this recipe somehow works. And the best part is it's not fried and it's very quick to make because all you do is you just slice it up, and you see what it looks like here. If you're not familiar, you put it in a pan and you mix in a pinch of turmeric and half a teaspoon mom's masala or the 1166 masala, and some ghee, clarified butter. That's what we like to use. It's the healthiest. And then bake it until it's crispy. It is divine. It tastes like chips, but it's actually better than chips. And somehow the bitterness is attenuated. And if you like, you can also squeeze a little bit of lime on top. Then you get an added flavor because it doesn't have anything sour in it. And it's just really delightful and super easy to make. So that's one of the recipes. Another recipe for our menu today is the Loki. If you're not familiar, this is the Loki plant. Look at how divine it looks. And Lokis can grow really big. They can grow this big if you don't take them off. And it's not necessarily good to eat them when they're that big. You want to have the medium-sized Loki. And they are the Indian squash. They're also called oppo in the Asian grocery store, Chinese Asian grocery stores. And when cooked, and specifically in this recipe, this is another baked recipe. So you can make this at the same time as you're making your Karela chips. You want to make sure when you stack them up after peeling and slicing it so they don't burn, because they will burn really fast. And you just add, again, a pinch of turmeric, mom's masala, some salt, and ghee, and cook them until they're tender. They're going to turn sweet naturally, and they are just so lovely to have, especially if you tend to have acidic stomach, or you tend to be a little more hot-blooded. It's medicinal and it's very delicious. Asparagus is a delightful vegetable, but sometimes it's hard to eat. We don't know quite how to cook it, except if we're maybe eating at a Thai restaurant and then it's nicely grilled. But this is a very easy recipe. I like to call it asparagus salad, because you boil it, you cool it off, and then you just sprinkle. Pink peppercorn is what we've put here. Pink peppercorns, if you're not familiar, are not spicy. They're not pungent at all, but they're still channel openers, and they have a nice fruity flavor. And mom's masala, a little lime and olive oil, and it is absolutely delicious. Vaidya also taught us that asparagus is a diuretic, so it's a good thing to have when you are doing detox, because it helps you pee out your toxins when you're doing the full protocol. Now, this is the pièce de résistance. This is our protein dish. And I specifically chose to make it vegan in case some of you are trying to have something lighter. And the vegan protein patties are very easy. This one is inspired from Greek cuisine. They have something very similar. and it calls for zucchini, Thai chilies, if you like to use them, or you can put some fresh grated ginger if you'd like, parsley, mint, dry oregano. And then for the protein, we're going to use mung dal flour. You can either get this from the store or you can grind your own, but you want to toast it first, dry toast the mung dal, and then grind it in a small coffee grinder. Or you can get the ground flour from the store. If you don't have mung dal or you can't get mung dal flour, I recommend using the Vaidya's vegan protein powder. It's made from black chickpeas, but it's ready to go. This is an amazing protein powder. It has no peas because Vaidya said peas can actually cause inflammation in the joints. We don't want to do peas. It's soy free, it's gluten free, and the black chickpeas are easier to digest than the large white chickpeas. And this is ready to go. You can just use this one. So we put that in the mix. So we have our zucchini, as you can see in image one, and then our herbs and the spices. Put everything into a bowl and mix it in. You can use ghee, but if you do not want to use ghee, you can use some sesame oil and mix everything in. You can also add, there's two things, tamarind paste to give it a little bit of a tomato consistency, sticky, and the sweet and sour taste, and also Garcinia chutney to give it a tangy taste. Now, the Garcinia chutney, you might be familiar, is very good for weight loss, but it's also full of flavor. It's very good for metabolism. And the tamarind and wild amla helps in so many ways. We have full articles on that on our website as well. So you can add half a teaspoon of each of these or half a teaspoon of both together, and um, it'll make your patties even better. And then your patties will automatically stick together. Don't try to play with them too much. You just want like enough in your hands to stick together in the palm of your hand, and then you slowly scoop it and put it on your pan. And then we bake it. We bake it at 350 degrees, depending on your oven, for 35 to 40 minutes until they're that nice golden color. And again, baking is, no frying, no deep cooking like that. It's very light yet nourishing and ideal for detox. So it'll take care of that sharp hunger you might have. Finally, very important to keep, your digestive juices flowing. Pineapple is really a fruit that can cure anything. Vaidya loved pineapple. It's very good if you're feeling like you have sluggish digestion, or if you're just like you're hungry and not hungry at the same time. Pineapple can take care of that and uncloud your digestive fire. And we tend not to eat pineapple as a salad, meaning with salt and spices, but it's actually even more tasty when you add some salt. You can add mom's masala. You don't need to add lime, of course. You can add a little olive oil and then a chili. You don't need to add ginger either because the pineapple itself is already pretty supportive of digestion. And then you can add some chopped mint or cilantro. Either one of those works, and it's really very nice to go along with your food. And finally, we have today quinoa instead of rice, because rice is more, it has starch, it has more soma. If you want to choose something lighter, quinoa is a seed, it's not a grain, yet it has a lot of nutrients. So it's a wonderful thing to have. And this is a really good recipe. Sometimes quinoa can be a little bland, and if you want to add more flavor to it, it has fresh chopped mint as well as lime, mom's masala, and then we've topped it here with pine nuts. And if you do not have pine nuts, you can also use sunflower seeds. Those are also kosher and SVA to use. So this is a really wonderful. Yeah. So so this completes our menu for today. And this is just, I want to say, a a sampling of the recipes that we actually have that Vaidya gave us and that we teach in our detox course, that is going to be starting, like I mentioned earlier today, on April 15th. Our detox course is going to be starting. It's for 8 weeks. And those who sign up get to speak to a personal Ayurvedic counselor who will be in touch with them for the duration of their detox. Every Thursday we meet. All the calls, video calls are recorded. We share the knowledge, we go more in depth, we share different kinds of approaches and therapies and recipes to address the different kinds of toxins that you know about now. And then once one day of the week, you do detox on your own, following the guidelines and the steps. And then we get together the week after and we discuss and go over how it went for you. So we do together, like a friend of mine said, we're going to be pooping together, basically. So we do detox together once a week on the day of your choice, but we get together to go over it. And we've been doing this course. Vaidya passed away in 2017. So at that point, he used to guide people in doing detox. But since he left, we've put this course together using all of his materials. And this is, I believe, the third year and in a row that we've been offering the detox course. And we have a lot of repeat clients who just come back and do it again with us, because it's always good when you're detoxing to have group support, because sometimes some emotional stuff comes up and you just want support, but it's also nice to be able to share. This year we are also adding the Samadhi Marma, which is an Ayurvedic tool that Vaidya put together and taught us using specific herbs and the science of Marma to help with mental and emotional stress. We've had a really tough year and we're still navigating tough times. And it's wonderful to know that Ayurveda can support us, even if you have already a wonderful meditation technique that you have been doing, or you pray, or you do something that helps you. The Samadhi Marma is an added layer. The technique takes 3 to 5 minutes, and you use specific herbs and Marma therapy. And then you do your yoga or your meditation or your prayers. And we have so many amazing testimonials of people who say how it's like you get your body to support the yogic practice that you're going to do from the Ayurvedic perspective. So this is an added bonus for our detox class this year. Plus, when you sign up, we send you a whole big box of all kinds of food items, massage items for detox, bath pouches, as well as some capsules for virechana, some ghee, some prune preserve, a lot of good things. So it's a really wonderful course. And then knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. A lot of wonderful knowledge comes out from questions asked. For example, one of the questions that we have here is about the use of salt during detox. Vaidya recommends we do not use any salt when we're doing detox, because salt can retain toxins because it enhances absorption. But this lady, Mary, is asking how come in the rehydration drink, Vaidya recommends using salt. And there's a very specific response to that. It's because when we are doing detox, we may feel dehydrated, and we do add salt so that we can absorb the water that we're drinking in order to rehydrate ourselves. So there's a lot of refinements of knowledge that Vaidya gave us that you may not find elsewhere. And the best part is that you are guided step by step based on what you need at the time that you're doing the detox, to help you carry it through without getting stuck because you get into somewhat of a detox crisis. So again, this is not course, to address any medical conditions or chronic serious medical conditions you may have. We do have a wonderful doctor, Dr. Tarobam, that Vikas actually interviewed a few weeks ago. She gave a talk also, and we refer clients to her if you do want to address something more serious. But otherwise, if you just want to take things to the next level and do a nice, safe home detox, then I welcome you to contact us and or to sign up for our detox course. So I've spoken a lot, and now I'm going to stay quiet and open the floor and to everybody. If you have any questions, any comments, I welcome them all. Thank you.
So there are a couple of questions in the chat. Let me read them. Let me read them out to
Sure.
seed the conversation. So the first question is, should apples and pears be peeled? If so, why? When purchasing from Asian markets, how do you think about the possible pesticide loads? And then there's other question about why not winter squash. So let's take the apples and pears and then.
Yes. So yes, even though like we say that most of the nutrients are found right under the skin, we actually do peel the apples and the pears. Vaidya was very particular about maintaining the health of the colon, and anything that is too much fibrous can scratch the surface of the colon. And he was very careful about that. And I was just reading actually yesterday how there's a very thin skin on the colon inside that helps with digesting and absorbing, that can be really punctured very quickly. People who have leaky gut, for example, their colon wall can get punctured through the lectin that is found in some foods. So that's why Vaidya recommended peeling the skin of the apple and of the pear. And don't worry, because in Ayurveda, it's not just about nutritional content. There's so many other things, that we didn't touch on today as well, but there's so many other factors that we take into consideration in, like, aside from nutritional content. Obviously you want to have things that have nutritional content, but you want to have more things that are going to support your agni, your pachak agni, that are going to give you soma. And soma is a very big topic, but it's the nourishment that you're getting, and also not disrupt your marut, the flow or circulation. So peeling is an important thing to do in that sense. What was the other question?
So it's about the possible load of pesticide on apples and pears, I think.
Okay, so apples and pears you can actually get from organic grocery stores. And I don't know, like, if you have a Whole Foods, but Amazon also, I don't know if you still like to shop from Amazon or support smaller private family owned businesses, but Amazon now has supermarkets called Fresh, and it carries organic produce at a fraction of the price, and they're available all over America. So whenever you can get, you do choose organic, no doubt. But when it comes to, I think, karela, loki, even okra, which is a good vegetable to have, we do not have these organic. And because karela is detoxifying to start with, and if you're trying to eat everything else organically, but we cannot get karela organic, then we don't make a big fuss about it. We don't try to stress ourselves out and make mental and emotional toxins out of it. And if you do keep a good diet and you do, some Garavisha tea, because toxins from pesticides will be coming under the category of Garavisha. You can do Garavisha tea to help, detox your tissues from that. And if you eat turmeric and everything is flowing well. See, it's not possible to be 100% toxin free. Otherwise, we wouldn't be human and we wouldn't be on earth. But, we do the best we can. And eating karela, even if it's not organic, is better not eating karela at all, basically. So, and then winter squashes, actually, there are some foods that are so rich in soma that they just take more, they need more digestive fire to be metabolized and absorbed. And the winter squash banana, the big, large beans are those kinds of foods that need more Agni, more Pachak Agni. Because of our modern lifestyle, and this is just like a recommendation that Vaidya gave us, and this is like the beauty of having a Vaidya that's looking at contemporary culture and giving recommendations, is because of our sedentary lifestyle nowadays, we're just sitting down too much at the desk, office work, in the car, or even at home because we're tired. We don't work enough in the fields at all. We don't have enough physical exercise. So our overall metabolic fire is lower. So we don't digest things that are rich and heavy, like winter squashes as well. So if you keep eating them, you will start noticing that your joints are getting stiff. You may be gaining weight. You feel tired after eating them. You may not notice this right away, but if you keep doing it, but at least we know that that's the knowledge behind it. And when you pay attention, you may actually notice. That's why we don't recommend winter squashes.
Thanks. There's another question. I have a very high pitta condition. Vata is blocking pitta. Would mom spice be too hot? I think mom's masala is too hot. I use masala for high pitta.
So you can try a pinch. You can start with a pinch and see how you feel. Even a pinch goes a really long way. If you do not like, we have it also, we sell mom's masala like in a 1 pound, 8 ounce, 4 ounce, and then little sachet trial sachets. And it's really very small. And even if it doesn't work out, you can send that back as well. You have 30 days to send it back, and we refund you if it doesn't work out for you. So that's a good way of testing it, because if it does work for you, then it's really wonderful because it's tridoshic and you want that. Otherwise, Vaidya did make a lot of other masalas. We have two other high pitta masalas. One is called pitta masala, and it's for people who do have really high pitta, either by constitution or because they're aggravated, and it's really delicious, and it's all specific ingredients for high pitta. And we have another pitta garcinia masala, which is delicious. It has pitta and garcinia, which is a kind of tamarind from the tamarind family. And I recommend you can try those as well. And if things still don't work, then we do have other masalas that you can make manually at home. He gave us some recipes and we can share those with you happily.
Great. There's another question which says, you spoke that Vaidya maintained the vibrational energy of the herbs and the prana and the prabhava of herbs in creams, etc. How did he do that?
That's $1 million question. And that's actually the secret of his trade. Knowing how to maintain the prana of the herbs, even though they are in a base of cream, shea butter, or the lotion, or the oil, or the nectar drops that he made for people who couldn't tolerate any herbs or spices at all, or even the creams Vaidya had to make. They're called herbal memory nectar drops because they carry the memory, the intelligence of the herb. They're not from memory. They carry the intelligence, the memory of the intelligence of that herb or plant. And you take one drop, and it's as if you were actually taking that plant or that herb. And how he did that is the technology that he inherited from his father, from his ancestors. When you understand prana, what it is, and you know when to harvest, when to pick, and how to work with a specific plant, to shadow dry it, to how to, there's like so many amazing, beautiful details in the, even if you just read, an Ayurvedic text, not just specifically Vaidya's lineage, the attention and the detail of what you do and how you do things specifically is so mind-boggling. How did we come to forget all of these things? But at least it's there, it's in the shastras, so it's not lost. We just need to start doing these things again, and then you can do it. It's doable, it's possible to maintain prana and have things that are full of life, even though they're in a jar or in a bottle.
Excellent. I know we are coming close to 8, so a couple of last questions before we wrap up, if there are any. Very good. If there are no questions, then a couple of promotional things, because it's a free seminar. You got to have some promotional items, otherwise it's not full. You will feel left out. That's the thing.
One
So, A,
question. One question.
as
There
of
is a
course, I'll open up questions just in a minute. So I'm starting a breathing and meditation course tomorrow. So if people are interested, I'm going to post the link. So feel free to sign up. Also, if you have any questions about art of living, or I'm also starting to teach a course on Jyotish or astrology, feel free to drop me an email and I can send you the information. And also, Melina, if you have information about the detox course, if you want to post that, I think.
So this is I didn't put, so okay, I forgot to put, let me see if I can,
So
I
if you
lost
can,
my mouse, my cursor. So maybe I can spell out, you can email us at info@prana-center.com.
I'll write it down. info@prana-center.com.
Yes.
So if you need information about the detox course, and I would highly recommend, in the sense that, as Melina ji mentioned, there's a word in Sanskrit called sandhi. So sandhi are the joints, and this is the ritu sandhi. So this is the time when changes happen. And sandhi is the gap. So this is a concept very widely used even in Jyotish, that sandhi is the time for transformation. So when two things join, that's a weak point, and that's all the point. One thing is changing to the other that you can change. So it's the sandhi. So when winter changing to spring, this is the sandhi where a lot of transformation is happening in the body, and it's the time to leverage for detox. So if you are interested, then definitely put the info, send an email to the email address there. If you have any information about the art of living, or you want to learn Jyotish, feel free to email me at vikas.chawla@artofliving.org. And of course, for the courses, I sent the link, and we would love to have you on either an art of living course or the course, detox course, that Melina ji is going to teach. And I have been a patient of Vaidya Mishra and now Dr. Teitelbaum, and it's totally, me and my wife, totally transformed our lives, and my wife is a dentist. So when I remember Dr. Mishra saw her, she said she had a lot of mercury poisoning, because she was seeing a lot of patients who have mercury fillings, and she gave a liver detox and a bunch of other things, which helped a lot and has continued to help her. So I have a lot of regards for Vaidya Mishra and his knowledge. So that's the email address and the phone number. Feel free to reach out. And I know somebody wanted to ask a question. Please feel to go ahead.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much. The question is, if we are doing some small detox at home by ourselves, and there is a choice of day to start, should it be on the full moon, on new moon? Any recommendations?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. So, first thing though, regardless of whether it's full moon or new moon, it has to be a day when you are resting. You don't want to do detox when you have other things happening. You want to give your body and mind full rest so that the body can offload any toxic load. So, that's the most important. So, if let's say the full moon falls on a Wednesday and you have to work, then you will not do it on that day. You choose maybe a Saturday or a Sunday. Aside from that, there is a tradition of doing the Ekadasi, fasting, and also maybe holding detox on that day. And Vaidya talks about this as well. It's very beautiful knowledge, and it's ideal to do to abstain from salt, as well as starch, rice on that day, and anything that's too heavy. And that in itself is also a detox, because Vaidya explains that you receive so much soma from the moon on Ekadasi, which is the 11th day after the full, there's a specific calendar for Ekadasi every month, so you can look that up, online, just to be sure which day it falls on. And so doing detox on those days is actually a good thing. You allow your body to receive more soma from the moon and from the environment. The soma energy is very powerful, and you support that reception by not, by doing detox, meaning not adding or eating heavy things and too much from your end. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thanks, Riza. Thanks, Riza, for the question. So again, I don't want to hold people too long. Melina ji, thank you. This was very educational. Thank you for all the viewers who joined, because the talk can only happen when we have a great speaker and a great audience. We need both. So thank you for everyone for joining, and thank you, Melina ji. It was an honor and a pleasure to host you. Hopefully, we'll have many more of these. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. I really enjoyed doing this as well, Vikas, and I look forward to many, many more. There's so many beautiful topics that go hand in hand, with yoga and meditation. Ayurveda is key to helping us, do those practices. So I'll be happy to come back and share more knowledge with all of you.
We'd love to have you, Melina ji. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Namaskar.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.